Hey everyone, Aaron here, and this is another anime fan request review. And today's review goes out to Frekat. I'm so sorry, man. It took me so long to review this. I apologize from the bottom of my heart. This is actually a review that I should have done probably like a month ago, and just with everything happening, and I really have no excuse per se. But I had college happen, and other reviews and such. But still, man, I apologize. So hopefully this review kind of does justice to you having to wait essentially a month for the review. I mean, you already saw the show, but still. But anyways, today's review is of Baccano, which I'll be honest with you, up until Frekat mentioned this anime to me, I had only heard of it in passing. I never actually really looked up anything on Baccano. I've heard about it. I've seen people talk about it on various top 100 anime type lists, and to me at least, I mean, it sounded like it was a really cool series, but I just never wanted to venture into it. I didn't say per se didn't like anything about it. I just had no reason to venture into it until Freecat mentioned of watching it and he wanted me to do a review of it. So I thought, you know what? I saw it on Amazon pretty cheap as an anime classics. I picked it up, and I'll tell you right now, I do not regret it. This series is awesome. It's flawed, but it's awesome. So the main premise for Baccano is actually pretty cool, in that usually anime has where one character is focused on, or not even one, maybe just a couple, like two or three, but there's still only one main protagonist, and the other ones kind of fit the supporting role. Baccano actually has it where all our characters, there's like several, I think 17 or so characters, it seems like, are all the main characters. They actually all have story to tell. And while the story focuses on solely more so like several of the characters, talking about them more so than the other ones, this show is actually really cool because it does something almost like akin to Groundhog Day, in that you will see a lot of episodes repeating stuff that happened, but you'll see it from other perspectives. Instead of, for example, there's a scene on the train, which this whole anime essentially is a mixture between taking place on a train and taking place in New York, where it's the main setting in New York from like the 1930s, and which, by the way, I am a huge fan of. I always kind of like the 1930s New York, the way it looks like in media and kind of anime in general. I think it's awesome, but I love that this whole show is focused in New York, because I mean that's my home state. I love New York, but it's even cooler having an anime being sole focus of it. But Baccano's main premise, let me not get out too off topic, and I don't want to spoil it, so I have to avoid. When I did this, actually, this is multiple takes of me trying to figure out how do I want to word this without spoiling too much. The main concept is that there's a train that has this legendary concept where it's a train that has a lot of beauty to it. It takes a lot of great routes. It has a lot of prestige and value to it. And just on one special day, 16 characters essentially all meet up, and are all the main reason for the demise of this train, but also a kind of creation of this catalyst of just random shit to happen. And that's what this show does pretty well, is that it has every character essentially building off of each other in the grander scheme of the event going on. So, for example, one of the best examples I can give, I think, honestly, is one of the parts of one of the few I think it's the third episode, has it where our character's running through a train, one of the alchemists. And oddly enough, at the same time, there's two people talking about murdering someone else. Now, it doesn't tell you that perspective until it switches to them. And then, ironically, you see him running through the train again, but at the same time, now you see it from the other perspective. You see it from these two characters that are talking about the murder, while meanwhile the other characters talk about running through the whole train for a whole kind of unrelated reason. But because he's doing that, it's causing kind of chaos toward them. And you see, it's the nice kind of butterfly effect. If you guys know what the butterfly effect is that every effect has a bigger effect in the future. And Baccano, I think, represents that perfectly, in that every character has a important part to play in the story. And ironically, the first episode actually kind of talks about that really highly, in that there are narrators to the story talking about the actual event happening and trying to decipher who is the main kind of concept, who is the main character. But I think, in honest truth, Baccano, as the story progresses, there is no main character to this. Every character has, again, a role to play, and even more so, every character is important. And that's something I don't see very often in anime. There's a lot of anime out there where you have 20 characters, and only 2 of them are really important. The rest kind of take the supporting character role, which I said earlier in the beginning of this review. But, Baccano goes with, yeah, they're supporting characters, but even the supporting characters are important. That's why I said, I say the 16 characters. I mean, probably realistically, there's several main characters to this. But there are so many other supporting cast of characters that all have an actual role. I mean, not without spoiling anything, at one point early on, there's a fire that happens because two gangsters are kind of just goofing around. And lo and behold, because of that fire, it actually leads to one of the other characters meeting up another character. It's because of that one singular event, the butterfly effect. This show could best represented by the butterfly effect. That everyone has a role, but more so because one incident occurs, it leads to another incident and another. And that's why I think this show does so well. I mean, I'll tell you right now, Baccano is a kind of, I don't want to say slow anime. I think the very first several episodes of the show are more so build up. It's a lot of it will kind of repeat and it seems like it'll talk about this or that for too often. But know that once you get past the first several episodes, because this show is only 16 episodes, it's needed that you need to see everyone's perspective, because in the larger scheme of things, once they get through the whole train part, the next part actually starts explaining the cause and effect of what happened. And because the characters all play integral roles in this cause and effect, it leads to a better understanding, I think, better than a lot of anime does in terms of explaining the actual event. Now, the ending of the show, I don't want to spoil that either, but it does leave a little bit to desire. I mean, I personally think it's a decent ending, but it also is like, it kind of, I want to say, what's the word I'm looking for? One of those endings that it was the safe route to take, because, again, there's so many characters, I don't think they wanted to kind of end the show by talking about every single particular character's ending. And that kind of seems like a cop-out a little bit. That's the word I was looking for originally. It's a little bit of a cop-out, but it's understandable. This show is very large in scale. I think Baccano is one of those anime that, to really enjoy it, you have to be one of those people that listens, pays attention, and absorbs anime. And what I mean by that is, if you miss too much in Baccano, especially, I found it, I had to restart the first couple episodes a few times, because I would miss little tidbits and kind of key points here and there. It's something that you miss too much information, and you won't understand fully another concept. You won't understand why a character is going through this or that, or why that character has this particular power. Because I'll tell you right now, Baccano is full of mystery, intrigue, magic, alchemy, etc., etc. This is an anime that I understand why it's considered a classic. Now, honestly, I was debating highly what I wanted to review this. I don't know if I wanted to say that my review shifted a couple times, but I'm being honest with you. If I had to review this between an A and F, I would give it a B+. I know I keep making it sound like this is an A- or A type anime, but to the casual, if you're a very casual anime watcher, this might be the kind of worst place to start if you're not into the more intelligent or depth anime. I don't want to say that belittling anyone, because there's a lot of anime that I think is great in terms of short bursts, or very little minimalistic in terms of, character development and plot, that it works in that nature. Baccano is one of those shows that takes a lot to actually get invested in it, because all the characters are important, all the characters are intriguing. You by the end of the show, you'll want to know everyone's name, because you'll want to know what purpose they had in the show. And I love that, but I know a lot of people will say, that might not be my cup of tea, that might not be my thing. And that's understandable fully, because, again, a show like this takes some investment into it. So, that's it for this review, guys. I hope you liked it. Please like, comment, subscribe. It helps my channel a lot, guys. I'm trying to get up to 100. I know that's far off in the distance right now, but still, that'd be awesome to get to. By not the end of this year, per se. I don't think I would get to 100 by the end of this year. But it'd be awesome. Just saying. Frekat, I hope, I keep saying your name because I feel like I really owed you this review more than anything else. I hope you liked this review, man. I hope everyone else liked this review too, but I hope you did it particularly. And as always, guys, until our paths cross again in the next review, have a good one, everyone. Bye.